Hello, Mystic Travelers, and welcome back to the Black Mirror Oracle. I want to thank you so much for being here at the beginning of this channel in this sanctuary. I got some intriguing messages and images from the Black Mirror when I opened it earlier. So we're going to explore those today. And at the end, I will give you a channeled message. So the images that I got today, the first one was a castle on the top of a rocky mountain. The second image was like a stamp, like it's pressing into wax, like on an old letter. And the third image was of a very dark pine forest. It was very dense. It wasn't like super tall, but it was very dense, like so dense it just looks like darkness in there. And then I got a message that something new is coming in your life or has come in your life recently, and it didn't say specifically whether this is a good thing or a bad thing or whatever it is or how it's going to influence you yet. Hopefully the cards will explore it a little bit more. But that it has a direct correlation to your past lives. So, Mystic Travelers, let's dive in. The animal. So, I'm getting a feeling of like getting back in touch with your instincts, because I think a lot of times we think of nature as something we're supposed to control, and that nature is chaos and, we have to put order to chaos. But really, when you're able to kind of let go and go with the flow, your instincts will guide you. And we're going to see in a minute how this connects to our past life images. We've got this in our shadow, falling. And we have what I consider the shadow card in the shadow. This actually relates so much to past lives, because I think that a lot of people believe that when we transition, that all of our problems just bleep out of existence, and that whatever we don't deal with in this life, it just, we can just repress it our whole lives and then it goes away. But when you fall through the rabbit hole transition, the mystics usually say things about how what you don't deal with here becomes so much bigger there. And that's why it's so important to heal in this life. And I'm thinking of Rumi specifically, but there's a lot of other mystics that talk about this. He says that, like, if the problem you have here is like a dog, then when you get to the other side, it's going to be a pack of wolves. Because here on this plane, when we manifest things, it takes a lot of time. We have to put the thought into the universe. And I guess everything's just so dense that, it takes time to come to reality, and we have to do actions and things. But in some traditions on the other side, it happens instantly. So that means if you haven't dealt with your stuff here, when your thoughts occur over there, they're going to manifest instantly. So I feel like maybe the images in the mirror, this dark force, it's easy to get scared in those places of things like a wild animal, or that you're going to fall into a hole, or that you're going to get lost in your own subconscious or your own pains that you didn't deal with in your past lives. But the thing is that in these traditions, you're going to come back over and over again until you deal with them. So that's why it's important to go ahead while you're here, while you have this urge spiritually, while you have this heads up, to go ahead and work on what you can. It doesn't mean you have to get to a certain place or a certain level of depth. It just means don't delay on your healing. We have the comforts of friendship. I would say somebody in your life, either that you already know or that you will meet soon, is part of your transitional other side soul family. And the thing about this is that depending on friendship, And having deep trust with another person is such a beautiful, rare thing in our world, because so many times our soul family, our soul connections, we have soul contracts with them that are like to trigger healing. So like, there was a saying in a movie, and it was something like, if somebody asks for patience, does God give them patience, or does he give them opportunities to practice patience? And I'm also getting that connection in this life. That's why I was seeing that letter. Like, are you communicating? Are you letting friendships that are important to you slip away? And let's see what our other oracle says. She sleeps with the stars. With the sort of castle looking image on the mountain and these other cards, I'm getting a feeling that you also had a monastic past life, and or like a deeply spiritual past life, maybe multiple. And that's why like you're so drawn to spirituality now, and you're learning to discern your intuition from sort of this, I don't know, animalistic instinct. And we talked earlier about how instinct is good and it protects us, but it can go too far as a human, right? Because we can overcompensate because of our instincts, and that can cause us to, um, you know, get caught up in our own minds and get kind of trapped in this swirling. So, in your past lives, I feel like you had this very monastic spirit, whether you were in a monastic situation or not. And that is where deep down, even when you have a lot of external pressure or external issues, I feel like you come back again and again to the fact that underneath it all, you know that all this is just superficial, and underneath it all, there is a deep sense of peace. Even if you can't feel it, it's like part of your intuition knows that it's just sitting there waiting for you to uncover it. With this, she sleeps with the stars. It's just such an image of peace. And it, of course, reminds me of the star card, the idea of, instead of glaring, bright, explosive awakening, or even the confusing, subconscious gymnastics of the moon, you have the starlight, which is so soft and gentle, and you can sleep under it in peace. And stars represent, you know, kind of transitions. And this is going to sound interesting, but real an aside. So I had a vision one time, and in this vision, I saw this giant tree, and I'll talk about it more in one of my Mystics Lanterns videos at some point. But in this vision, I saw a giant tree, and I went, kind of flew on top of this tree. The tree was so big, it was surrounded by mountains, kind of like in my vision. Sorry about the sound, that's my dog. And I landed on top of the tree, and when I went inside, it was black like space, and there were just stars everywhere. And every time I touched a star, I was like plunged into a memory. And some of the memories were from this life, and some memories were memories I didn't recognize, so I assumed from past lives. Well, later, much later, like this year later, I found out that that's actually like stars as memories. A tree, like the world tree full of stars, is kind of an archetype. And so, I don't know, just something to think about. The medallion. That looks a lot like the stamp. There may be a kind of physical relic that you've been attracted to in this life that represents a connection to your past lives. And this could mean an ancestral object, or it could mean, like, say, oh, I don't know why, but I just like really, when I see I don't know, prayer beads or something, I just get really excited. My puppy, she just keeps shaking, but I don't want to cancel the reading, so, because I like to keep it in one loop. So apologies for my little munchkin. All right. Tinkle, tinkle, little toes. She said no. That's okay. Animals. They bring such peace and joy and inspiration. Okay, let's do your affirmation card. The medallion. It's like a gift. And I think, too, we're getting to the idea that, like, understanding that these challenges are gifts instead of punishments is such a huge transition. And I think that maybe in your past lives, you felt like you were being punished, but that was just because the stuff carries over from life to life. And so if you didn't deal with it in one life and you were just like, no, I'm not going to do that, then it's going to come back in your next life, and it's going to get, the challenges are going to get more intense every time. That's why it's also important. And so, like, there's like a light shining on this for you right now. It's bright like a castle on a hill. It is deep like the deepest forest. And your ability to navigate that is going to mean the difference between life's lessons getting progressively harder or easier, because we rise to the level of our own wounds, as I always say. I'm a good influence on others. I overcome my fears by confronting them. Yeah, I think, especially if you were in a monastic situation, you maybe sometimes felt like you weren't being good enough. And I feel like maybe that carried over into this life some. The feeling that, oh, I could have done more, I could be more. But also, like, we have this reinforcement here. So we have kind of two threads going, right? We have our sort of, you've had this past life as a monastic, and it's kind of calling to you not to necessarily be a monastic in this life, but to dive into that part of yourself. That, especially if you've been really distracted with, mundane things. And the second thread being that the wounds that we accumulate in our past lives show up here, and they can get more and more intense depending on how much you ignore them. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can just think about it. If you don't want to think about it in the sense of life to life, you can just think of it in your own life, event to event. How when you ignore a problem, it builds up and builds up until it's going to explode if you don't deal with it. The pressure gets really high. And I'm very curious to see what your tarot cards have to say about all this. It's definitely these two. All right, we'll get started there. I may need another one in a moment. I feel like there may be another one for us. Okay, let's see what we've got. We have, I guess I didn't bring enough candlelight. The King of Swords. Very castle on a hill energy, cutting through illusions. Ace of Pentacles. Fixing things in this 3D realm so that when you go to the other side, you get a fresh start. 10 of Cups. Focusing on friends and family in a more spiritual, connected way than maybe you've been before. I think a lot of people are really scared of being vulnerable because of the way our culture teaches things, or a lot of cultures teach things. But vulnerability is a lot of times the key to unlocking this. And it's not like throw your pearls before swine or something, but it means like if someone's proven they're safe, don't block them out, right? And let's see, we have Temperance. These are a lot of the cards that we got from last week. I love to see how the narrative unfolds from week to week. Last week was very much about a deep awakening, maybe even an explosive one. And for this, I get almost like the calm that happens afterwards, where you're kind of left in the wreckage to navigate it on your own and kind of pick up and put the pieces back together and make the connections between this life, your past lives. And let's see. Oh yeah, the Hermit. The King of Pentacles. Got a lot of court energy here. And we have the Two of Pentacles. We have the Six of Cups. Yeah, there's a lot of going back to the past reading in this Seven of Cups. This also came up in last week's. Like I said, we're getting a lot of kind of overlap in these readings. And we have Strength. This is an interesting Strength card. Okay. Let's get your channeled message. Beloveds, in your past life, whether that was other lives or your past in this life, you've had to stand so strong and you've had to be so sharp and cut through illusions, and that can leave you jaded. But beneath it all is sort of this seed of understanding of who you truly are, and that seed is a seed of calm. And sometimes that sword is a defense to keep people from getting near that seed, and even keeping yourself away from that seed sometimes. And once you're able to understand and balance this with your deep spiritual, almost monastic energy, you will be able to transmute that into a more balanced place between mind and heart, mind and emotion. And right now, in the ashes, as you're arising from whatever awakening process is happening or about to happen for you, when you find yourself in that moment where you're laying in the ashes, remember that your heart, that seed, that spark, that is a lantern to guide you away from things that were never meant for you, things that weren't nourishing you. And when you're able to do that, that light will lead you to the people, to the situations that will bring you healing. And with that healing, a deeper sense of joy, a deeper sense of connection, not just with other people, but the most important thing, a deeper sense of connection with yourself and your past lives. Now, beloved, the awakening may have been explosive, but this is the quiet afterwards. It may feel very lonely at first because people just don't understand what it feels like for you. It's like you've suddenly moved to Jupiter or something, and people just don't get it because they haven't reached that yet. And once again, that doesn't mean you're ahead or behind. It just means you're having a different experience, and that's okay. But especially with this 10 of Cups card, you're not destined to be alone. And remember the image of the letter. Diving into this hermit energy for a while does not mean that you're going to be alone or lonely. It's going to help you transition from the feeling that loneliness or being alone is loneliness into the feeling that being alone is sanctuary. And then you can move in and out. That sanctuary will live in your soul, and you can let people come in and out as they prove themselves, right? Just like you need to prove yourself to be introduced into someone else's sanctuary. Your past lives or your childhood, there's something that you're so nostalgic for. And like I said, it may be in this life, or it may be something you're nostalgic for that you've never even experienced in this life because it's connected to a past life. And you're being invited to take a look at yourself in a mirror, but not from your this world eyes, from the eyes of all your past selves, from the overarching theme of your existence. And beloved, this is a very difficult task, but please meditate on it, because There's a special deep message for you that will help you connect more deeply and rebuild yourself after your awakening process. And that inner monastic person is really, really wanting to speak to you, to help you through this. But their voice is so covered by other things. And in the Rider Waite deck, there's a lot of castle energy in these cards, not so much in this deck. But that castle, I keep thinking about it as like a fortress. And so it feels like there's like a piece of your inside shadow or unconscious that has carried over life to life that you've kept really locked down. And it's just begging to be let loose, and you can't contain it forever. You might be able to contain it for one life or many lives, but it will out. So it's best to get in touch with it and try to work with the trajectory instead of letting it explode your life, right? Because that's what often happens if we don't. Coming back to temperance and the 10 of Cups, making sure that you're seeking balance in all things. We're so addicted to like many moments, right? Like, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, or I need this emotional hit, or I need this mental hit. But slowing down, because you can't hear that deep voice if it's really covered by things all the time. And most people distract themselves because they're too scared to face all those things that are in there. But it doesn't, according to the mystics, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. So you have to work on it. If not now, you're just going to come back. And if this is a topic that you're very interested in, starting in January 2026, I'm starting a Mystics Lantern series. And the first month is all about the bardos, or the place, the liminal space between life and death. The liminal place between life and death and between lives. So please stay tuned for that. It will expand upon this message for you. Okay. Beloveds, you have had such a long, harrowing journey, and you've accomplished so much, you've achieved so much, and you're being called to let go and really observe these deeper seated patterns. So if there's any disruption, if there's something with unease in your life, observe it and try to figure out the root cause of it. What pattern is lying dormant from the past that needs attention? And then work your way through it. And as always, get the help you need to get. You don't want to wander into the forest, the deep, dark forest, without a compass. And that's the message I have for you today, beloveds. I wish with all my heart all the blessings and peace as you move through this. The peace of a monk, the blessings of a king or queen, yeah, and a clear reflection in your mirror. The mirror is closed. The reading is closed. The ritual is closed. I'll see you next week.